because we are in the political environment we are in, we do need to be able to articulate to those outside of the agency, at least on some grand scale, what we're trying to do. How do you, in this environment, and I don't know if, you know, how familiar you are from a perspective of, but how would you be able to articulate non-requirements? I mean, if you don't know what your requirements are now, how do you go about trying to get funding, because it's the grand scheme of getting money to continue to do something that you don't know what the results are going to be? And how do you tell people outside of NASA that they should help us and support us in terms of money?
Well, I think that's a very great challenge. It is sort of the essence of the challenge of life, isn't it? How do you explain to the world why it is that what you want is a thing that we all should want? So if you were to ask me how should a principal investigator prepare for life, I'd say, number one, read and write. Study reading and writing and communication, because that's the essence of how we get to do what we want to do. We might think that science and engineering are the essence. Well, they're pretty important, but if you can't convince anybody that what you want to do is the right thing, then you're not going to get to do it. So there's a certain degree of persuasion that's required, and we have to say what we're after is really exciting, and even if we don't know what we're going to find, we know that it's really important, and this is why. So we didn't know whether the Big Bang was the right story, even. We said we have to go measure. We didn't know if the hot and cold spots would ever be measurable, but we knew that we had to go find out. So it is possible to explain this to people without having exact numbers. But then eventually it's the responsibility of coming up with real numbers and say this is what we are going to do. And at that level, then we have to persuade scientific and engineering review committees rather than the general public. Because I think the public trusts us as long as we have a good process. Not everybody knows that astronomers have something called a decadal survey. And every 10 years, the community of astronomers gets together with sponsorship from federal agencies to declare their intentions and their highest priorities. And so we're currently doing that right now. We'll find out what the rest of the world thinks we should do. So that's a process that gives a scientific blessing to the ideas of a few selected projects and enables us to communicate to the public.
You're able to build, through this inclusion with the scientific community, you get, in essence, your influence for priorities, and yeah, that's a power base.
Yeah, and so even the Cosmic Background Explorer, the COBE, had to go through competitions. And we were reviewed, like every other project, against others and say, this is the best among several. And this is what the agency is going to do, and the scientific community is then convinced. So then we can say, okay, world, this is why we're doing this. It's not that hard, but you have to do it well.
Mm-hmm. I think the key is what John pointed out is communication. Writing it down and also communicating it.